So at time of writing, we're a couple of episodes into the new season of The Mandalorian, and something feels different this time around. I'm sure there's about 1 billion people saying that, but I'll do you one better and try and explain, why. I think we could be seeing a fundamental shift in how this show functions, and I know we've only seen 2 episodes so far, but I think if you compare these two to the first couple last time around, difference is visible. This is just a shorter video, in part because I'm working on a bigger, meatier, real Star Wars video essay which should be out before long, but let's talk just a little about serialization. Super fast rundown for anyone who doesn't know what that means. Serialization is basically how interrelated the episodes of a TV show are. If a show's very serialized, it's not telling a bunch of little stories so much as it's breaking one story up into chunks, sometimes kind of arbitrarily. Think of all those Netflix shows designed for the binge model and compare them to your procedurals, most of your sitcoms, the type of show you can tune into at any point and know what's going on. That's serialized versus episodic storytelling. It's not a binary, more a spectrum that every show sits somewhere on, and sometimes where they sit changes from season to season. Sometimes a show will go forward and back on this, like the way Seinfeld season 4 kinda shook things up with a year-long story about the NBC pilot, but often it's one way only. I think that's what we're seeing here. Think back to season 1. The selling point of this series, aside from Baby Yoda that is, was that this wasn't a saga, some grand interstellar tale. It was looser than that. It was the opposite of all the Star Wars we'd had before. It was individual stories, lots of new characters who we'd meet and then leave. Now this show was never fully, truly episodic. There was always some sort of ongoing narrative, like Dean's search for Grogu's people or other Mandalorians, but that ongoing narrative would be in the background, almost as a frame upon which these individual stories could be hung. The village defense episode, the mercenary prison break, and so on. The first few season 1 episodes are connected, but they're setting up the show's status quo. By the time we get to season 2, episode 1's the Timothy Oliphant Western one, and episode 2's the Frog Lady Ice Spider Cave one. There's some narrative connective tissue at the start of the latter chapter, Dean continuing his search for the other Mandalorians, but once we're past what's essentially a cold open, this story is pretty much independent of the season premiere, and that type of loose linkage is representative of the rest of this season. Let's flip back to the new episodes. It doesn't seem like this is the case here. Episode 1, apart from that IG-11 stuff which doesn't really go anywhere, this one feels less like a standalone story and more like a reintroduction, a setup. We check in with a bunch of known characters and places, and reaffirm Dean's next medium-term mission, cannonballing in the sacred swimming pool. Episode 2 has its own feel, its own flavor. It's when we first touch down on Mandalore, when Dean begins the purification ritual, but even so, that creepy robo-fella's only defeated when Grogu goes back to Bo-Katan's gaff from the previous episode, and ropes her into the action, bringing that storyline back to the forefront, and crucially, the episode ends on a cliffhanger of sorts. The ritual is not complete. It seems we'll spend another episode here, partially at least. So if these 2 episodes are as representative of season 3 as that other couple were for season 2, it seems like the structure of this new batch of episodes could be quite different indeed. Add to this a few comments Jon Favreau made about the show and its future recently, and serialization, a build-up to some new large-scale dedicated narrative, may be the name of the game going forward. Maybe the plan here was always to do this, to do what the Witcher books did, to open with a collection of more standalone stories, to introduce the tone, the world, some of the characters, and then build into a more conventional overarching storyline. Again, the show was never fully episodic, and even when comparing season 2 to season 1, continuity is emphasized, characters reoccur, and the prominence of the ongoing narrative grows. Maybe what we're seeing with season 3 so far isn't different so much as it is that we've reached the tipping point for a serializing tendency that's been present, growing all along. But the elephant in the room here is the Book of Boba Fett. More specifically, the way 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett were essentially just Mandalorian episodes. And not just that, but that these bonus episodes resolved the big question season 2 had ended on. If you'll forgive an understatement, pretty odd choice there. I think everyone's on the same page here, so I'm not gonna whine about it, but I do want to think about that here because it wasn't an accident. It's not like some grunt at Disney slipped and dropped the reels for those episodes into the wrong content pipe, and they ended up in the Book of Boba Fett series by mistake. Let's not forget Ahsoka pops up there too. Those episodes and the merging together of these new Disney Plus Star Wars properties that they seem to reveal exist because someone in a place of authority wanted them to. And if this merging process started with a Grogu Jedi resolution, well, we can only imagine where it'll end. It's hard to say if this direction was set in stone from the start, or if it is in part a reaction to just how much fans and audiences liked this show. But the upshot of all this is that, for better or for worse, it doesn't look like the heightened interconnectivity of Season 3 so far is some freak occurrence. It seems like difference will persist, and likely intensify. And you know what? Maybe it'll work. I mostly liked these new episodes. I think a large amount of complaints fans have had are rather silly, and maybe most importantly, it still felt like The Mandalorian. If we're now moving into the second phase of The Mandalorian, a stage of pulling things together, abandoning low-stakes, flavor-of-the-week episodes, and heading towards some big conflict or other, maybe the show will do this without losing that spark. Book of Boba Fett weirdness aside, I think the quality's still there. For now, at least. And if nothing else, these new episodes have really delivered on the cool little guys front. Ever since last year, when I made a Boba Fett video and a Ms. Marvel video 2 episodes in, praising those shows for doing specific things, and then each following episode stopped doing those things, I've been hesitant to come down too strongly either way on shows as they air. So I don't want to just assume The Mandalorian is going to commit decisively to serialization, and I definitely don't want to assume that if so, that transition won't be handled well. But I really hope the minds behind all this don't see the style of those early years, the more episodic structure, the looser, more independent, less epic focus which made us fall in love with The Mandalorian as a means to an end, as disposable build-up to a new small-screen universe, as only valuable insofar as it sets up another ongoing pump of franchise sludge. Because, let's be honest, it would be just like Disney to strike gold with a more low-key, more idiosyncratic property, to then react by spinning it into a big, bloated franchise, and in doing so, lose everything that made it unique in the first place. So, you know, fingers crossed. That's all for now, folks. So obliterate that like button, and make sure to come back in a few days' time for a big, juicy Star Wars video essay. Big up as always to all my own personal cool little guys on screen now. Grogu's got nothing on you lot, especially Daniel Goldhorn, Heather Long, Ryan Emily, and Weirdy Birdie.